So first of all, thank you for accepting to talk a bit with us. I'm really curious about some of the stuff you have to share with us. To start, I would just like to ask you to tell us a bit about how you spend a normal day, how a normal day goes for you.
Okay, thank you, Habibi, for having me to speak and also for sharing our story, my story, the story of Masafer Yatta. So for me, like, I am a full-time activist. Like, all my life is just like as a response of what harassment and attacks my village is going through. So especially in the last almost like 4 years, I am with a car. So during the day, I am watching and doing night shifts around my village, and also during the day, I drive people around. And yeah, my car is the only car in the village, and I make sure that the basic main needs for my family and my neighbors being transported through my car. So I have full time and just to drive people around and also to watch during the night. So this is actually how my day looks like. I am especially with the scene of the settler violence happening in the West Bank, including Masafer Yatta. There is no other chance of being away from your house and your family. Like I'm a person that studied, and I can have opportunities other places in the West Bank to have a job or whatever, but I try to not be away from my family. So I am just a full-time activist to be around my family, because I also, for us as Palestinians, like the only way that we try to protect ourselves is like the legal work and advocacy and the documentation of the crimes happening against the Palestinians. So I make sure that also every kind of attacks that happens at my village that is documented in videos, and also every person that face this violence. Unfortunately, we only have the Israeli police to file a complaint, so that I make sure that to take every person from my village to the police station in Hebron to file a complaint against any attacks happen to them. And also, I try to reach out to journalists, to other people and activists around me that will write something about what's happening. So using this documentation for advocacy and also for the media to show the situation happening in Masafer Yatta to my family, to my village. So this is like actually how my day looks like. To say like how it is actually by hours, like I usually go to sleep at 4 or 5 in the morning, and then I sleep until 10 or 11 in the morning. Then from there until the evening, I'm usually driving people around. And then at the evening, I have dinner with my family and stay drinking tea and cigarettes while watching around the houses of my village until the other people woke up in the morning so I can sleep. So this is like how not just my day looks like. Now it's all my life looks like. Like it happens that months that this is the routine of every single day that I am doing the same. Like not just a single day, but now as every month, every almost 1 year. I would say I'm going through this exactly almost the same since at least the beginning of 2023. Even sometimes before October 7th, my village was facing a lot of settler violence. So we were doing shifts from that year, mainly to be awake at night to see the situation around the village.
And can you explain to me and to the people who maybe don't know a bit more about the situation in Masafer Yatta now and in the past?
Yeah, like the situation of Masafer Yatta, first of all, let's say what's Masafer Yatta. and where it is located in the world, and to Palestine and to the West Bank. Masafer Yatta, it's the last area of the south of the West Bank. So we are in the bottom of the map of the West Bank, which is after us. There is 48 and the Negev desert towards the Dead Sea. So Masafer Yatta is facing the occupation in a direct way and struggling since the occupation of the West Bank started. So since 1967, Masafer Yatta is under a threat of ethnic cleansing by the occupation. Like the moment that the Israeli army occupied the West Bank and took over Masafer Yatta, which is part of the West Bank, they started to see how they will, like all what I explained that is happening in Masafer Yatta will be under the title of replacement and how to destroy the Palestinian villages and to increase and expand the Israeli settlements. So my village, Tuba, and another 12 villages in total in an area we are to describe who we are. The 12 villages, they are villages of shepherds. So they are located in a huge area because people are shepherds. So they need grazing area and they need cultivating fields. So even we say 12 villages, but the area is really, really huge. So this is a huge area. The first thing that they did in the beginning of the 80s as the occupation, next to these 12 villages, they have started military bases. And this area, the same army designated it as a firing zone. So they can, in the future, turn these military bases into settlements and bring Israeli settlers to live in them, and to use the excuse that we need the area of the Palestinian villages as a firing zone in order to destroy these Palestinian villages. And this is what is happening today. And this is how the vision of the occupation future started in the 80s by the Israeli officials and Israeli politicians, who, including the Prime Minister Ariel Sharon, when he was even a Minister of Agriculture, he suggested and proposed that this is the best way to destroy these Palestinian villages by having the benefit of using the army. And once he became the Minister of Defense, which is responsible about the army, he immediately signed it and designated it as a firing zone. For people who's listening, you can read more about it, like Masafer Yatta and Firing Zone 918. That's the field that the Israeli occupation is using names for it. So from the 80s, my home and these 12 villages, there's a huge area. We are talking about thousands of people living and tens of thousands of animals who are living and grazing in these fields. It became a parking for tanks and shooting range, and a place where they turn our houses into a place for the army to train. So in the late 1999, they distributed warrants, orders to us, to the villagers, that we have to leave because this is a firing zone. Now they showed the direct action of their intentions, and they started working on that practically. So from the 80s until that year, there was some demolition of the caves and the properties of the villages, but until then there was the actual mass destruction and the mass forced displacements. 1999, they started practically first distributing orders, then they put the people, everyone, inside military trucks, and they drove them outside of the area of the firing zone. They confiscated all the properties. They come, here we are sitting in the village of Atwani right now. Atwani is outside the borders of the firing zone. So they go to the villages inside the firing zone and they put them and their properties inside the trucks, and they come and they throw them here. Say don't cross inside to the borders of the firing zone. People had no other choice where to go. And animals, we are not only thinking about sheltering our children or sheltering people. Our main livelihood depends on the sheep. We have tens of thousands of sheep living in these 12 villages, that each one of these sheep need shelter as much as a human needs it. And the time that they come in November of the 1999, it was the time that the winter started in Palestine. And that year starts really, really heavily. So many people went into different circumstances. Me, myself, I don't remember it because I was 1 year old. I was born 1998, and I'm talking about the story starting from 1999, so I was 1 year old. But I will talk like more a bit about what happened to my family. My family back then, we were an extended family. Like we live with uncles and the grandparents, not just my parents. So we as a family, we were a family of 2 grandparents, 8 uncles. My father's is the ninth, and 6 aunts, the sisters of my father. My father is the second brother, like the second one. His brother is older than him. So these two, they were already married. So we were about 22 people with the grandparents and the grandchildren and uncles and aunts. And our sheep, they were, I think we had back then about 300 goats and about 500 sheep. So all of us lived randomly in the hills without any kind of shelter. So when we were kicked from Tuba, we built a refugee camp so close to Tuba and also in the land belongs to us. And maybe 2 months later, around March, around the beginning of March, they came and they said this is still part of the firing zone, and they confiscated our refugee camp, left us without anything. Not only the tents, they also confiscated the food, the water tanks, the blankets. Like they left us only with our shirts in Masafer Yatta, and they drove away. And they showed up that day on the evening. Yeah, they showed up in the evening, not like to give us a chance to rebuild during the day. Luckily, during the night, a relative of the family showed up with a tent, and we built that tent. And the 22 people, we stayed inside that tent, and the sheep were staying outside, and it was frozen, raining. Like my grandfather told me that during that time, tens of newborn lambs, like every sheep give birth to a new baby, the first morning frozen dead. More than 30 in one night, around 30 of them, they were dead in one night. And in addition, my mom has to give a birth to my brother in March 3rd, 2000. And it was in that place, and she was with us in that tent, in that circumstances. Luckily, someone came down to the asphalt because we don't have any asphalt road there. So she had to walk more than 1 kilometer, and someone took her to the hospital with my grandma. So we stayed like into these circumstances until we decided to move to the Israeli Supreme Court to take our case there. So we hired a lawyer, and lawyers asked for really like tens of thousands as a payment, and we sell our sheep, we sell whatever we have in order to get the money for this lawyer. So in the Supreme Court, they said, now we will make the case into between the residents of these villages, us, and also the army. And we will take the case to be discussed in the coming years inside the court and to see who has the right over the land. Either it is a firing zone or it is Palestinian villages. So from 2000 until 2012, it took 12 years to give any kind of decision because Israeli outpost showed up inside the firing zone. So they want to make sure if we want to say this belongs a military area, we have also to evacuate the settlers. But we have to find another way to still evacuate the Palestinians, but not the settlers. So they classified the firing zone into dry area and active area. The settlers' place is dry area, and the Palestinian place is an active area. So in 2012, they rejected our petition, and they also give a decision by saying the area of the firing zone 918 where the settlers built outposts, we don't have to evacuate them or displace them. But the area where the Palestinians still live, the army needs it, so we have to evacuate the Palestinians.
Of course.
Another petition was submitted to the Supreme Court until May 4th, 2022. They said the army will have the green light to do whatever they want in the area, in the firing zone, and the army will decide when to displace the people if they need their villages and their rooms for trainings. So they give the army the green light to evacuate us whenever they want. So this is like the situation of how part of the mechanism of using the firing zone. And by the way, it's not only in Masafer Yatta. 10% of the West Bank was declared as a firing zone, and it is as a closed military areas.
So 10% of the West Bank is a firing zone. 18%.
18% of the West Bank is a firing zone. Yeah. And all of them now, the 10%, the army is, I also was in another villages in the firing zones in the Jordan Valley, and they are facing the same circumstances.
How was it like for you personally to grow up in Masafer Yatta? How did it affect you personally?
Always like threat, always scared, always like the hardest part, or like actually many parts, but psychologically after facing all of that and the settlers attacks and everything, the hardest part is that you are worried about the future, and you are worried to might be physically attacked at any time, and also you are not sure if you can have a home here, like the worries of the future that you will become homeless or a refugee at any point. This is like the hardest part. This is how it is to grow up. If I want to tell you like the whole stories of everything that happened, it will shows that everything is under ethnic cleansing. But like to understand like the feeling of what it feels, it is actually just feeling that you never know what will happen to you and to your family. Yeah, just like to phrase it that at any time you are worried that you will lose. Also like the connection to the land. Like you see, like I am sure, like, or I'm worried that one day I will not be able to see this land anymore, and that you will not have a home in this land anymore. And you've opened your eyes as a human. You realize the world, and you know that you belong to here. But any moment you feel that everything is against you and everything is uprooting you from this, like as if you are cutting the connection between us and our land, as if you are cutting the hand from the body. No, this is one body that belongs to each other. So uprooting us from our villages, it's like cutting part of our bodies and disconnecting it, like separating it from the rest of the body. So mainly to estimate my feelings, this is how I understand it, like how I realize and how I estimate how it looks like to live in Masafer Yatta.
And one of the ways that you helped your community was by driving kids to school. Why was this necessary?
First of all, because we are not allowed to build a school in our village. So the children need always in Tuba, even when I was a child, needed to go to school in a nearby village. Not a nearby, always very far, but the nearest is the one that we always take. So before October 7th, and from the year 2000, a settlement that's called Ma'on and Khafat Ma'on, they were established on the road that connects Tuba to the village of Atwani.
It's the settlement right up here, right?
Exactly.
The one, the one you can see from the roof.
Yes. So Tuba is just from the other side of this settlement. Before 2000, the kids used to walk this distance and come to the village of Atwani for school, which is like 20 minutes walk. But when the settlers built the outposts in exactly above the road, they start to attack the kids. So the kids were not able to use this 20 minutes roads anymore, and they have to go in a detour around the outpost, and they start to take them 2 or 3 hours of walking. Yes, more than 10 kilometers distance of climbing hills every morning and afternoon. And it's even like the outpost here that was established in the road will prevent them and attack them from the longer way. In 2004, it started like some human rights organizations to come to Masafer Yatta, mainly for the children of Tuba, in order to accompany them to school.
At this moment, you were going to school also,
Yes.
no? Because you were like 6 in 2004.
It was my first year in school. So they agreed with the parents that if our parents will agree, they will walk us through from our road, even that it became inside the outpost and there are settlers that might attack us. But that 3 hours road is not a way for the children to go to school. So we can take the responsibility if you agree to accompany the children. But unfortunately, the children and the activists were both attacked by the settlers in one of the morning, like brutally attacked. American activists, broken hands and broken legs and very serious attack. So after that, because the request was coming from Americans and Americans were involved, there was more intention. You know, today, every day, like Palestinian children get killed by the occupation and everything. So, and a physical attack will not take that attention if there was not American involved. So they said, like the Israeli parliament back then said that the army will walk the children to school instead of these Americans who were attacked. So, and this started from 2004 and lasted until October 7th. For me, from 2004 until 2016, I came to school to 20 in this way. In the morning, I wait in my village for the army to show up and walk me to school. And in the afternoon, I wait until the army to show up. And every time, like all my school grades, it was depending on the army. If the army show up, I come to school. If the army don't show up, we don't come to school. And in the same for the afternoon, sometimes we waited until sunset or whatever, until the army decide to show up, then we go back homes. In October 7th, most of the army in the area became from the settlers from this outpost and from a nearby outposts.
Because the settlers themselves, they were deputized into the army, no? They were given guns, the ETVs, the electrical vehicles that we see around, and in many cases even uniforms.
Yes. Yep. So, and the schools also in the West Bank were suspended for almost 2 months after October 7th. So there was no schools, and we were not sure to send the children, not because they were agreeing and we were afraid. No, we were afraid and they were not accepting, even until today. So, yes, I had to, after October 7th until the end of the school year, which is in June 2024, I did like the driving of the children from Tuba until Tuani here, the way around. And in September of 2024, we had to move the children to the another schools that they don't have to use the road to here. And we managed to find like a driver and an organization to hire him to pay for his salary and his expenses to be committed with the children to take them back and forth to school.
And I wanted to ask you also, have you faced repression or targeted attacks because of your activism?
My car was burnt in front of my house in January. Yeah, like it happened in January 25. I was sitting on a Zoom, actually inside my car, speaking to a journalist. Then I saw 6 armed, not all of them armed, but some of them were with guns, but all of them were masked and covering all their bodies, running above my house towards me and my car. Yeah, so once I saw them, I start to yell at my family to hide and to run away from them. And then I couldn't run out of the car because there was only one path from there that I can take the car out of it. And they were running from that path. After I warned my family, I wanted to come back to drive the car outside, and then I saw guns and bottle of gasoline. So I said, if I try to stay in the car, either I will be killed by this gun or burnt by this bottle of gasoline. So I decided to run on foot from another place, and yeah, I saw them and filmed them while some of them were burning the car and some of them setting fire in the food of the sheep of my family and other destroying the furniture of the kitchen of my grandma and the place where she make the yogurt and the stuff. So I think that was a clear attack because it lasted for 6 minutes, and once they saw that the whole car is in fire, they start to step back. So yeah, I think that was because my car is the only car in the village, and they know that I try to help the people get their errands in this car.
Yeah, I'm really sorry this happened to you. It's crazy that someone has to face this, and it's still the same car that you drive, no?
Yeah, we have to take the car to the mechanic because the idea was it's extremely expensive to buy cars in Palestine and to buy SUV, not any normal car. That like you have drove with me and you saw how the road actually looks like. Not any car, cheap or small car. We have to climb a hill of almost 4 kilometers or a bit more than 4 kilometers that there is no actual roads inside it. So to buy a new car that is as good to survive this kind of life, it's very expensive. And we say like, okay, if they burn this one, why to put a lot of money on another one and they will come destroy it again? So let's just keep the same one with cheaper expenses of replacing, and this is would be the best way to replace the car.
And when we were driving around Masafer Yatta, it's easy to spot the many gates, not only in Masafer Yatta, but also in Masafer Yatta, the many yellow gates that kind of separate the villages from the main roads and that close the main roads. Like, how do these gates affect the communities? Because there are many, right?
Yeah, now almost in Masafer Yatta and in the West Bank, every entrance of a Palestinian community has a yellow gate. Like hundreds, maybe more than 1,000 were installed just after October 7th. But they exist since long. But some of them we used to be in the big cities, but now each big community, Tuani is a small village of 400 people, and they put a few weeks ago a gate in the front of it.
Yeah, and on the two sides of the road, like you have
Yes.
entered Tuani, but also the access from the other road.
Yeah, the other road that connected Tuani to Yatta, it was never open since October 7th.
Yeah, I came through it and I had to stop at the gate and walk.
Exactly. So, like how it affects whenever they want, they close. And yesterday in Hebron, a city of 500,000 population, like they closed the gate for almost 2 hours, and all the people were just stuck. So how it affects, like they close you inside the jail whenever they want. We have as a mini driver for a whole village, I crossed nonsense distances and off roads since October 7th, and before that I really, I can't even think of how much extra distance. Really, once this gate I was crossing to Tuani, and I was in front of Tuani, and I saw we tried to go around the gate, and my car got stuck there, so I have to go back, and then from just entering inside Tuani, I went to the other side of the city of Yatta and exit out from another place and came all the way. So after I arrived here, I had to cross throughout a whole city of Yatta to the other side to get out to the main road. And it's only just 1 meter.
It's very short.
And instead of 1 meter, because I couldn't go through it, I went a whole city and came to the other side of the 1 meter. So this is mainly, you see they are stuck if they have to move to get people. You see we don't have here any kind of medical units. So if the kids is closed, because sometimes they close it and they leave. You don't have any way to negotiate with anybody. Like there are no soldiers next to the gate. You can't tell them my mother is dying, I have to take her to the other hospital in another city. There's nobody's there. Either you carry your mom in your arms and run and go under the gate, or just watch her dying in front of you. Not only a mother, but I'm saying like the most dearest people, to give an example of what this looks like.
And you talked a bit about how the settlers attack the water sources of Palestinian people, and I noticed that the situation regarding access to water is also pretty challenging. Can you explain to me a bit more how it works?
Not only challenging, they are totally preventing it from us. In the firing zone 918 and in the area C, in the whole area C of the 60% of the West Bank, more than the half of the West Bank, it's under the Israeli military control, and they are making officers from the army to sit in office to watch the civil life of the Palestinians in these villages. So according to Oslo, they said that the life affairs, the services affairs of the Palestinians in these villages, it's the responsibility of these offices. So it looks like that this civil administration, the power that they took as the one that being responsible about it, they are using the same power to reject these services. So, like, according to also said, like the Palestinian villages that exist in Area C, they should take a master plan request from the civil administration, and the civil administration will give them this permit and connect them to water, electricity, roads, and everything. But according to human rights organizations, including OCHA, and also some other organizations that report from the West Bank, 99.8% of the villages in Area C part that submitted a master plan to the civil administration, these master plans were rejected, which means that not only not providing us from the water, but if we also try to connect ourselves with water, they will come and demolish it. So in Tuba, we don't have any water connection. We only depend on gathering the water from the rain, and then we tank the water with tractors and tanks from nearby villages, and we don't even have roads. We don't have any kind of services, like no roads, no electricity network. We just depend on solar panels, and they are under demolition orders. There is no water pipes or water connections that leads to the villages. So we have to depend on the tanks with the tractor to bring the water and fill this water cistern that they stole the water from it, and then give enough for the animals and the families around the houses. So it's not only challenges, but we don't have any kind of water resource except for the winter when it's raining. And also, yes, any attempt, if we try to connect our village, we will not be able to be seen working in front of them. We might be arrested or maybe shot or killed by settlers for putting pipes to put water. So, no way for us to connect to water.
And also, like, economically, from what I've heard from people, the situation is also very dire, very difficult. Do a lot of people have to leave the West Bank to work? How is the situation here?
Yeah, of course. Like, there's the whole life in the West Bank is unsettled. All kind of economic activities, they are affected, including the agricultural and the trading and everything, because talking about agriculture, the settlers and the occupation took the whole land, so there is no animal to be invested grazing or around. And to be talking about like the trading activities, all the villages, they are disconnected and separated from each other, and the trading activity is not happening in the right way. So and most of the people, like there were a lot of people were depending on the construction sector in the West Bank and also inside 48, but it is not happening since like October 7th, the state of Israel, like like this situation of the war, they are not giving permits to Palestinians to work. So many Palestinians, because of poverty, many people have to cross over the wall that separate 48 from the West Bank to go to work inside 48. And many people were killed by the soldiers, or many people were injured and shot. But there is no other way than to do that. People need to, when someone has like 5, 6 children at home, he will be ready to go. Even most of them knows that they might be shot, but he wants to try to get some money to feed his children. So talking about the West Bank, people try like with every simple way nowadays to at least manage to get a money to pay for a meal for their children. And it depends how dangerous and how risky this could be. They want still to try to do it.
And just yesterday, settlers harassed the people of Tuba again. Can you tell me a bit about what happened, and is it common that this kind of stuff happens in Tuba and in Masafer Yatta?
Yeah, actually, after October 7th and lately, the settlers are taking the biggest part of the violence against the Palestinians, and they are taking the biggest part of, like the amount of the land that was seized and taken away by the settlers after October 7th. In the last couple of years, it's really mostly Now we as Palestinians, we are still trying to be resilient in our villages, but the settlers managed to make it that we are stuck only inside our villages. We are not able to go out of our houses. We are not able to go away. So even not just staying inside our houses and not going out of our villages so that they don't attack us, staying in our houses, now they come and they enter even inside our houses and they attack us during the night and the day. And what happened like 2 days ago, which is on Saturday, like you see that they come and they are behaving as it is their home, not respecting the privacy. And this means not respecting the privacy of the people means that we don't see you, we don't see that you exist here, and we have things next to our settlement and we are using it. Your village is our thing and we don't see that you are actually here. And they pretend to do that. Like they come to the water cistern and they open and they throw the water as much as they want. They clean themselves. They use the water the way they want. And in the video, you can see that they enter inside the house and looking around the house as if it's their house. Like somewhere in the world, there will be any kind of justice of breaking into somebody's house. But here, when it is coming for a Palestinian and settler, there is no authority that is trying to stop these attacks. And we try all our efforts legally to show that this is true and to show that to their authorities what is happening, but they don't say anything. And sometimes they say that the authorities, they say that your house is inside the firing zone. If you feel bothered by settlers entering in your house, go away. So this is how the justice to be expected from an occupying power. This is as an example of how settler violence became how close. On Tuesday this week at 3 a.m., my neighbor called me and I was watching around my house and he told me the dogs are barking really, really very strongly and we expect that there are some people hiding so close to our houses. Then I told him maybe the dogs are barking at each other, maybe they are fighting. Then 5 minutes later, he called me and said, please come, there are two masked settlers just hiding behind the rock. And then I went out of the house and woke up my uncle and others. And then I saw them moving from my neighbor house towards my house. And they come so close, they are masked and they are, intimidating. Like they just like want to scare us and get so close to that we can do whatever we want to you at any moment that we want. And then until the morning, like nobody slept. So just to make us not sleep during the day or the night, they are shifting between each other. They know which program that they can do any kind of violence against us, and we don't know which time they're gonna attack us. So because we don't know which time they're gonna attack us, we have to be awake all the time. But for them, they are doing shifts, so they get rest and attack in the time that they want to be active.
It's a form of psychological terror as well.
Exactly. Yes, it's a psychological terror. This is a really a huge terror that even, it's played in a very systematic way. And it's played in a way that they see how they are succeeding. And unfortunately, I don't know, like the situation, the escalation of the settler violence, and now we are during the olive harvest in the West Bank, and we see the numbers of how the army and the settlers together attacking the people physically. I don't know, like I don't know for what, like everyone that is can be a decision making in our world, in this international society community. What they are waiting to see more. Yani, just like my message to all the world, save the humanity, and political systems and regimes that will discriminate between people, they are like regimes of genocide and regimes of apartheid and regimes that needed to be taken to accountability and dismantled so that all the people all over the world, all the people, nobody feel the authority to attack any other person. Like anybody feel the authority to attack the other person, then we are living in a jungle. A leopard hunt a deer take the grass. I don't know, a lion attack the other animals. So if I feel like the jungle life, if an animal feel that he can eat the other because of the power, so they can do it. And these political regimes of the occupation in the West Bank, they are making a lion and a deer, so that the lion can easily feel the freedom and the ability to eat the deer.
I wanted to ask you about another word that I heard a lot while here in Palestine. What is the meaning of sumud?
Sumud. Sumud is steadfastness, resilience. Really like to explain more deeply about the word of sumud. You found yourself as, a civilian, a human person, that you feel all the world is planning, you watch all the words, not only the occupation, not only the occupying power that is ruling your land and life and trying to displace you from your villages, but you see all the plans and all the agreements and all the accords and everything that's happening around the world against your existence, and trying to make you as this simple civilian human, trying to displace you out of your land, but you still wondering and thinking how you want to stay in your land. This is sumud. This is the resilience. Like you feel all the agreements around the world is not for your side, but you still feel that your determination and your existence in the land where you were born and where you inherited from your grandparents, as long as you keep existing and standing in this land, this is the real word of sumud. And the other part of sumud, talking about like the practical way of lifestyle, that, as I said before, they are like depriving us, preventing us from all kind of surviving. No medical education, no medical units, no education units, no water, no electricity, no roads, no houses. All of this I mentioned, maybe from you to come to Portugal, say, these 6 stuff, someone is trying to prevent me from them. Where does it happen in the world? But let me repeat them again. No electricity, no water, no roads, no education, no medical units, and no electricity, but you still want to stay in your land. What else more than that could be resilience, as the word we use as Palestinians, sumud?
And tell me about what is the youth of Sumud and what is the work that you do.
Yeah, so, the Youth of Sumud group started from 2017 as a response to the ethnic cleansing happening in Masafer Yatta. Because there was one village in the firing zone that was displaced by the settlers' violence and by the mechanisms of the declaration of the firing zone from the 99. And we said, like, as a group of young people who back then just finished high school and starting university, we think that what will happen to our houses, what is happening to our houses, and what will be the fate of our villages in Masafer Yatta, the same that happened to the families from this village. So we have to try to bring the people from this village back to their homes. So we went to this village and we tried to restore and work the caves and the plant, even that we built at the beginning tents and they came and they destroyed them. So we said we will not waste our time by letting them destroy things that they can use legal work against it. The caves that they exist even before the occupation in this village, some of them from hundreds of years. So we can make them as good a place to shelter to the people. So the main activities were inside that village.
This is the village of Sarura.
There is a documentary with the name that explains all the activities and the life that we were having there. So in Sarura, we try to fix the caves and plant the fields and to encourage the families who left their homes to come back to their village. And we lived there like more or less about 4 years until the families Like each cave we were fixing, when the family says like we will have it, we move to another one and they start to prepare that cave. And then, COVID started and everything in the world was in a intense situation. And also the settlers in the West Bank became more violent. And since then, we as a group, everyone had to stay with their families and to their villages, because I returned in 2021 in June 1st to my village, where the settlers set a fire in the hay bales of my family, the food of the sheep. So you see, like we had to go back to, everyone became busy in his house. So we returned to our villages, and this is like how the group formed, because it's the idea, and it's still living until today as the idea of the idea is still going, because it started for an idea and for the ethnic cleansing that is happening, and unfortunately it is still going. So the idea is still going to support in a way or another to keep Palestinians on their land and to keep the Palestinians resilient and smooth in their villages and on their lands.
It's really inspiring to see young people organizing like this together to support their people and to support like such an important fight.
Yeah.
And as you know, me and others, we have been doing protective presence in different places of the West Bank, including the olive harvest. And many times it seemed like our presence had very little effect on the settlers' behavior. And I've also been reading about this and reading from other journalists and activists who say that protective presence is not as effective as it was maybe in the past. Is protective presence still useful in your opinion?
In my village, it doesn't exist. Any internationals or any doctor or human rights activist or journalist that is not a resident of my village will be caught in my village by settlers. They will bring the army and the army will arrest them. Because as I told you, in the final ruling of the court, it was that they give the green light to the army to take control over the land. So they say this is a firing zone and no one is allowed in it. So for us, we as residents, we are not allowed to have people with us. Not doctors, not a human rights activists, not a solidarity groups. And the settlers knows that most of the internationals that comes in Masafer Yatta, they are here for solidarity groups, and they now knows how to target them and how to get them arrested. So yes, actually, we have a widow neighbor, a mother and her daughter and her son, that they live behind the hill in my village, and they faced a lot of attacks since October 7th, including the stealing their sheep and destroying their properties. So every time they are afraid, and they want people to come to stay with them. But it's not easy for people to come to stay with them, because just 2 days ago, one settler came and he left and he called the army and the police, claiming that there were some internationals in their place. The army didn't find anyone, or the police, but the army was exploding sound bombs around and trying to search them in a way or another to arrest them. So, I see that solidarity groups, it doesn't work in Masafer Yatta anymore. We don't have them anymore. And in other places, all human rights work is affected by the occupation. In the past, it feels that the authorities, the army and the police, and wanted to play the game of the propaganda for the international eye. But now I don't see that they are actually care about anything. So in the past, the presence of the international people would make the army less violent in behaving with Palestinians, because they are documented and they know that these videos will reach out to the world. But these days, they are more targeted even than Palestinians. Not more than the Palestinians, but they do whatever they want. Doesn't matter whoever is watching.
Yeah, also maybe because they saw that the whole world saw what happened in Gaza, and they still managed to follow with the impunity, so they are feeling more and more like they can do whatever they want.
Yes, that's exactly that. That's unfortunately, sadly, it's true that see, like, even if internationals saw us shooting or displacing Palestinians, what the internationals are doing, they didn't do in the past, they do in the today or in the future. This is a very sad statement, actually.
So all of these increasingly suffocating measures, from like settler attacks to restriction of water to restriction of movement, all of this, how do you think it relates to the plan from the occupation to formally annex the West Bank that we just heard recently?
It's clearly a process of annexation, not something that is hidden, but it's a clearly, clearly they want to talk, like, maybe starting with the annexation about Area C, which is something related also to the deal of the century from the other time of Trump presidency, not something that is new.
What do you mean? Sorry, can you, like, this deal of the century? Is it the deal from last Trump's mandate?
Yes.
I don't know about this. Could you?
Yeah, like talking that back then
When he moved the embassy and all of this?
yes, when he proposed that the Area C will be under the Israeli, like under the control formally, which is it is, but under like part of Israeli control. So yes, like talking about how it looks actually today, they want, like, from that time and until today, they managed to destroy tens of Palestinian villages were evacuated and displaced from Area C. So this means that they want to push the Palestinians all in one area, which is called Area A, like the towns in the cities in the West Bank, so that they have no people but empty land full of settlers in the West Bank that they can easily, like, to do it an annexation. So it's not occupied territories anymore, but part of the territories of the state of Israel. And clearly, what's happening, they are, as I said, like, they are destroying the Palestinian villages and increasing the Israeli settlements. So it's not just if that is action, if these activities are related, they are actually working on it clearly to annex these territories.
And I noticed that you don't usually refer to the occupation as Israel when you talk about it many times. And I noticed that also many other Palestinians refer to it as the occupation or the occupying entity or the occupying state or something like this. Why is that these terms are relevant to use in a different way?
What it is for us, what we are facing as Palestinians, we are facing colonialism and occupation. Whatever it looks like, or whatever others are naming it, for us as Palestinians, it's only a colonial system. So that what we are living under, what we are going through, we name it with their names. Only. Just like that.
I wanted to ask you, on a personal level, why do you choose to stay despite all of this?
Yeah, I mean, not easy question. Not easy question at all. Mainly is the sense of belonging to this land. I found myself here, and I'm sad about everything that we are going through, and I am sad about every land that I used to be able to go and not able to see it in my eyes now, even if it is just above my house. And the sense of belonging to the culture, I belong to this culture, I belong to this community, and I belong to these people, and also my people, my family. Yani, I don't want to, like, even if I decide, like, to go for work somewhere else in the world or inside Palestine, I will not have peace, because every time I will just be worried about what's happening here. So I find it even easier to be with the people and to be here than when I am away.
And in the middle of all this violence, of all this pain and oppression, do you believe that one day the occupation will be over and Palestine will be free?
I hope so. I hope so. For me, as in a personal level, I care about all the pain of the people around the world, because I am Palestinian and I understand what pain, what oppression mean. And I hope that there is no injustice that's gonna last against any human or any animal in Palestine or in Sudan or anywhere in the world. So yeah, I mean, I hope so. Like, we learn from the injustices from the past, and we believe that every regime that is oppressing people should get into an end at some point, and hopefully any kind of pain or any kind of injustice against people, it has to end, and all the people around the world will just live like without oppression.
Yes, I hope so as well, and I believe so. Being here, actually, despite everything that I saw, made me, from seeing the courage of the Palestinian people, made me a lot more sure that eventually it will be over. Thank you so much for talking to us and for sharing your views and your story. From our side, our promise is that from Portugal and also from when we come here, we will keep trying to bring these stories to the world and trying to show the support in any way we can. And thank you so much, not just for sharing, but for the work you do.
Yeah, thank you guys for what you are doing. Thank you for being aware about what's happening here, and thank you for trying to get this story wider to the world and to be more heard. And we really appreciate every attempt of work and solidarity. And we saw that during the protests that happened in Portugal, in Italy, in other countries, and we know that, and we believe in people, and we believe that the power is in people, and people will not accept that injustice will happen to their neighbors and to people, just people like them, being facing violence. I don't think that the people will continue to agree on that, and one day together all the people will save each other from each other, actually. Thank you.
Thank you so much.